We have all now accepted that s1mple and NAVI won't be hoisting CSGO's final major trophy, but this wasn't just your regular premature exit from a tournament. Because of his actions, this may have been an outcome months in the making, and it's got a lot of people wondering, did s1mple's ego get the better of him once again? The Paris Major has already had a ton of upsets, from teams failing to even qualify to favorites getting sent home early. And at the top of that list of what the f moments is what happened to NAVI. In case you missed it, NAVI was sent to the airport by FaZe after a heated elimination match. But that wasn't the shocking part. It was the absolute clapping they took from Monte that landed them there in the first place. And this wasn't just your standard CSGO upset. This was an entire anime arc involving the most prolific player in the history of CSGO, a scorned fan, and may have been caused by s1mple's infamous toxicity. Listen, this shit goes deep, so strap in. Okay, if you're thinking, who the hell is Monte? That's a fair reaction, because they're a relatively unknown CIS roster, minus for two somewhat familiar faces, SDY and Waro2K. But to get the full picture, we need to first take a step back. When I mention s1mple's documented toxicity, I'm not just pulling it out of my ass. It's been well known for a long time that the Ukrainian superstar can be a bit difficult to work with.
What the f you playing?
Channel
Isa,
switch.
did you pick cash?
Yeah.
You idiot?
Why, bro? Who cares if we played it, but we will win it.
Who the f want to win? We can win on another map. Why we should play second map? Second map cash. Oh my god.
In the quest for greatness, s1mple often clashed with his teammates on basically every roster. But in 2021, it seemed like things had finally changed. With Boomich at the helm, s1mple had found his golden squad, and it led to the GOAT finally getting his major.
10 seconds to either plan. That's
Oh
the
no!
bomb. That's
It's
the
falling
bomb.
apart!
That's gonna be
It's
it.
only Nico, there's no time! He just has to watch that clock tick down! This is it! NAVI have taken the major!
However, shortly after that historic win, something else caused a change in s1mple. The invasion of Ukraine flipped many parts of the world upside down, and even affected those within the CSGO community. And in its wake, s1mple became a different type of player. For the first time ever, he was more than just a superstar. He was an example of humanity within esports and became a figure that everyone could be proud of.
And all of us need to show example on this tournament for whole world. We need to stay together as a unit with our fans, with our friends, with everyone who's gonna watch this tournament. And we all need to stay humans first.
But while s1mple was making these massive character developments, things at the NAVI camp would become uncertain. And that's where we get to SDY. After Boomich's extremely public benching in May of 2022, NAVI found a temporary replacement in SDY. It wasn't a perfect fix given the fact that SDY wasn't an IGL like Boomich, but after another massive win at Blast Spring Finals, the new addition seemed to be working out just fine. Unfortunately, that success didn't last very long. Results quickly turned sour, and SDY was dropped, bringing 17-year-old NPL in. And although there was an argument to be made about SDY's performance, many CSGO fans felt uneasy about the team's treatment of him. On several occasions, s1mple visibly and verbally accosted SDY for mistakes he made in the server.
This event have looked quite sharp. It was a good move right there from s1mple.
Now, s1mple being a bit toxic towards a teammate is obviously nothing new, but to make matters worse, NAVI's coach made comments towards SDY after his departure that felt just unnecessary, specifically suggesting that SDY was past his prime and likely wouldn't develop any further. All of this can be taken out of context, which is something that SDY sort of echoed. On top of that, there are even some reports that claim s1mple wanted the two to continue playing together. What isn't up to interpretation is the situation with Waro2K. Last year at the Kingwin Legends tournament, which is classified as a show match by the way, the two Ukrainians, Waro2K and s1mple, played on the same team together in the grand finals. And to say things got ugly would be an understatement. Shortly after the loss in the grand finals, Waro would tweet out a jab at s1mple saying this: "It's a shame to realize that the player you love most, except for crying and telling someone something, did nothing himself." Now, you might be wondering, what would cause Waro to say such a thing towards one of his idols? Well,
Вон, Вова. Блядь. Как же он хуёвый играет. Никакой синергии, нихуя вообще. Просто как будто мы играем в две разные игры.
After Woro's initial tweet, the two would bicker back and forth about communication before Woro dropped one of the most anime-ass lines I've ever seen in the history of esports beefs. Take away your ego, because the time will come when I destroy you in tournaments. Hilarious, right? Well, now let's fast forward over 6 months later to the Paris Major. SDY and Woro's new team, Monte, qualified for the tournament and would go on to meet NAVI in round 4 of the Legends stage. Winner moved on, and loser went to elimination. To make things even spicier, this beef wasn't some ancient history. Everyone remembered what had happened between these two teams, and plenty of comments were made leading up to the match.
Right now, there has been a little bit of a spice between War 2K and s1mple. Is that affecting you guys outside of the game?
I think Woro is a guy who is under pressure performing better than normally, so everything will be good, no problem.
And guess what, folks? It all came full circle because SDY and Woro 2K popped the off, decimating NAVI on their own map pick, 16-2.
Monte securing top 8, 1 frag away. Can Boros end it here? Yes, he can! That is beautiful! The storyline of that one. Take away your ego, because the time will come when I will destroy you in tournaments.
And to make it all even better, after the unbelievable outcome, Blast Production knew exactly who the cameras should follow. This loss, of course, sent NAVI into a do-or-die match against FaZe, where s1mple and company were dealt a crushing defeat in overtime. Now, s1mple getting knocked out of the final major is definitely one thing, but the context surrounding the entire match with Monte and s1mple's own dismal performances really sent the community over the edge. s1mple might just be the best player of all time, but no one was going to let him off the hook for this one. On a more serious note, some were questioning if this loss highlighted an even bigger issue, the potential return of a toxic s1mple. When it comes to the Woro 2K situation, I honestly think it's a close case. s1mple got owned. He was an asshole, Woro threw down the gauntlet and then blasted him out of the water. All of this added Twitter talk about ego and hubris is just flavor. But if we really wanted to read into it, this is just yet another case of s1mple's toxic treatment of other players. I mean, on top of Woro 2K and SDY, we already know that s1mple has publicly criticized MPL. You know, that 17-year-old him and NAVI are supposed to be developing? Listen, we can all go on and on about what a winner's mentality really is, or what certain attributes other great players have that s1mple lacks. But at the end of the day, we're not him, or any of his past or present teammates. So we'll never really know what actually is going down. What I do know is that s1mple's time in CSGO is almost at an end. Counter-Strike 2 is going to be a fresh start for a lot of people. And for s1mple, he has an important choice to make. Once his individual skill starts to wane a bit, because just like everyone else, it eventually will, what type of player does s1mple want to be? One that leads and mentors, or one that's still just toxic and petty? I mean, I think he definitely has one. I hope people don't come for me for this. I'm just stating the obvious. I'm not throwing any punches. I'm just putting it out there. It's all hypotheticals. Sure, you look at, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Sidney Crosby, like all these players are chippy and they do every little thing to try and get an edge. And that's how you become the best. That's how you be the best. But I think like what I'm trying to get to is like at the end of your career or towards the end of your career, like there's a choice to make of like what you want to be remembered for. And honestly, it's a f***ing video game, so it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I like s1mple when he's smiling.